everybody. I am Liz Davidson. I'm the creative director here at Leader Games, and I am with,
Alita, I'm the producer at Leader.
yes, and the designer of Cart, which we'll be talking about, and of some of these root bots, which we'll be talking about today. So basically, today's stream is going to be devoted to Clockwork, but first, an announcement, which is that Root Homeland, our most recent expansion, is available for pre-order at leadergames.com. So if you need your root fix now, that's the fix that you can order. But the Clockwork project is very much under development. This is not something that's coming out immediately, but we wanted to give y'all a peek under the hood and kind of let you know, yes, we're working on it. Yes, we're working on it with Benjamin Schmauss, so that's a great delight to us. And what we are aiming to do is make a definitive edition of Root Clockwork that will include all of the best versions of all the bots, including the ones from Homeland, which we're making now.
Yeah.
Any further thoughts on that, Alita?
We talked a lot on the recorded interview with Benjamin, and I can't remember what I said then. So we'll let you cut to that so that we don't repeat too many talking points.
Yeah, so you get to hear from past us.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, this is Liz, and I'm here with the Rootbot crew, or at least that's the name of our group chat. Benjamin, do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
Hi, my name is Benjamin Schmauss. I'm the designer of the Clockwork expansions.
Yes, and we are very happy to have you back to help us continue the Clockwork project. And Alita.
Hi, I'm Alita. I was the junior dev on the last Clockwork expansion, and I'm one of the devs on Clockwork Definitive.
Yes, this makes me very happy to have you both. We've been having a really good time working on Rootbots. But Benjamin, you were here when the deep lore was written. So tell us about Clockwork 1 and 2 and how those projects came together.
So, when I got my hands on Root, I was at the time a fan of Vast because it's a game where you can collapse a cave on like a night. It's like a glorious game. And so, when I got into Root, I was really amazed by the different factions and how alive the world felt. And it felt like playing two-player games when they just released. They felt a bit empty and like it didn't feel like its full potential. Obviously, by now we know two-player isn't the recommended player count. But so playing initially with the bot that came with the Riverfolk expansion as part of the initial version of Root, um, it didn't feel satisfying. And the idea formed of what if I create a better bot, but then also bots for all the other factions. And so when you play, you can just swap in different factions to make the world or like the game of Root feel more alive.
So actually, speaking of two-player, I am going to bring up that your favorite way to play Root is in fact cooperatively. So how does that work for people who don't know, and why is it the best?
How it works is that, well, in generally how it works is that you bring any number of bots and any number of players within what makes sense in the Root universe, and all players try to reach 30 points before the first bot reaches 30 points. And you can play with some additional rules where the bots don't intentionally attack each other to make it more challenging. My personal favorite is simply to draw two random bots and two random player faction, and then we go for it. Um, I think what I like about it is all the things that I personally am not a big fan of in Root. For example, I'm not a fan of dice rolling. Like fundamentally, don't like dice rolling in games. Um, the randomness from the dice rolling matters a lot less when you play cooperative, and all the things that I like about Root shine more basically.
Nice. Lita, how do you feel about it? You and I've been playing a lot of co-op while we test the bots out.
I need you to score higher.
So yeah. For those of you who know, Alita is really great at games, and I'm not. That's reality.
But overall, it's such a fun way to engage with the game, and it makes it so different because you're able to kind of play around the two factions that you as humans are trying to play and kind of try to bounce off each other and be like, okay, is there a way that I can kind of protect you in some clearings, or how can we like align ourselves so that we're a stronger force against the overwhelming bot threat? It's a really interesting way to play, and very different puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, I love playing it because you do all the work. So, I mean,
If you think about it, cooperative Root is in its base premise not that different from competitive Root, right? Because you're still potentially cooperating with another player to take down a leading player, or you have a vagabond who enters in a coalition, and then you're playing together already as a team game. And I think the co-op mode with the Root bots just leans a bit more into it.
yeah, I think there's a lot to that. So, for those of you who are curious about Root Clockwork Definitive, what we are doing is we're making sure that all the bots are going to be reprinted in a way that is up to snuff. So we are making sure that the bots that you've seen before and loved are in their most lovable state. But we're also working on new bots. So, Benjamin, what new bots are you working on right now?
Well, we're working on all of them. So it's Marauders and Homeland. Um, I'm currently going through the Marauders one, while actually Alita has been doing the Homeland one.
This is true. So tell people a little bit about the rats and the keepers, since you've been on that, and then yes, we will be making Alita talk about her good work.
So the Rats, who we temporarily set it on Looting Legion, but might have a better name, not yet announced. Um, they are very aggressive, and I think we try to make them feel like the Rats, which are kind of a bit overpowered with smaller player count. And they feel kind of the same way. They have a very strong action economy, and they are in what I call the seek and destroy mode of just like going out, marching towards the player and seeking fights. And they play very well at the moment. And then the Badgers, I think we are using Iron Invaders as the working name. Um, they're kind of just slowly walking in two or three groups from forest to forest, taking out their relics, and it really forces the player to kind of find the best time to engage and disrupt them. It's a bit like our automated alliance from the base game, where or like the Clockwork expansion one, where it was a bit of a whack-a-mole game, where as the bases popped up, you had to go and like take down the bases to slow them down. And it's similar there. They have like the groups of badgers going around, digging up relics, and you have to pick the right moment to go and kind of break them up so you can slow the scoring down.
Excellent. And Alita, you have taken the lead on some Homeland bots, and you've made some really killer bots. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, so going through, I guess starting, the names are the weirdest. Uh, and we can start there, I suppose. So the names are going to be potentially the first bot that doesn't use a traditional order card. They're instead going to be using their captains to like direct their movement and kind of like cycle through them. Uh, and so their captains are both their most powerful piece and their highest vulnerability. And so they're very powerful there, but you also have to balance like, can I avoid them? Can I dodge them? Can I get out without losing too many players? Or is this a time that I can hit back, uh, take out a captain, and maybe interrupt their flow for a few turns and just kind of like slightly decrease their pace? So yeah, they take prisoners, they negotiate, they're a menace. Uh, they steal things.
They're great.
They're very fun. Let's see. The frogs are as terrifying as ever. uh, yeah, they spread like connected by waterways and try to protect their little homelands as much as they can. Uh, but they are still a militant force to be reckoned with. And depending on what suits they draw, depends on whether or not they're favoring militancy versus peace. So their personality can be very different depending on how the game goes. And then, let's see, bats. Bats are still protectors of the realm. They are more annoying than ever. But yeah, they'll be spraying out and kind of trying to find like new bases of operations and then trying to push and kick as many people out as possible and getting in the way of basically everything.
Fantastic. So I, of course, have a million opinions about this myself, but y'all are the ones who are doing these bots. So, what, in your opinion, makes a root bot a good root bot? And what is the what are the challenges of making that like essence come out?
Maybe that something also interesting for people who just generally look to like create their own solo mode for another favorite game that I have, second favorite after Root, obviously. Um, I think what's really important with the bots, something that I learned quite early on as I put out all the bots and then seeing fan versions of the bot kind of undoing some of this work, interestingly, is that when you create a bot, what really matters is all the moments the player interacts with the faction, right? So if a player doesn't interact with something because it's the internal economy and the internal industry of a faction, then you don't need to simulate it because there's no value to it. It's just kind of like doing admin for the sake of admin. What really matters is what is the impact of a faction on the board and on the game, and how to simulate this by hollowing out everything behind it that doesn't matter that the player can't interact with, and thereby just focusing on having players do the bare minimum of admin at work in moving pieces, but still get the effect of there is a woodland faction that's doing the thing that it's meant to do. Which, by
Nice.
the way, to double down on that, it's obviously for anyone who looked into the bots, we'd had some back and forth with the Eerie in the past. It got a rework for the Clockwork expansion 1, and now hopefully getting a second rework for the new edition. And that's obviously because you want to keep the decree that dictates what a bot's going to do as part of the bot. But because there's so much internal management, it creates a lot of complexity and it gets in its own way. And the moment you remove it, it's no longer exciting. No longer feels like it's the Eerie. And so it's kind of like one of those very interesting parts with how much of the internal engine do you keep alive and how much can you actually remove.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Alita, what are you thinking as you've like got?
Yeah, it's kind of along those lines, but also trying to figure out how to write a like very brief set of like instructions and simple if-thens that generate a bot making like near optimal player decisions, where how in like 2 sentences can you write something that uh, allows a player to, without thinking, make the best move for this bot without having to make any choice whatsoever, but can like quickly glance at the board and be like, oh, they would do this. They need to do this. And then how do you like crystallize that? Because very much it's what would a player do in all the ways that impact other players? Uh, and then how do we make that into basically a logical program?
Yes, and I feel like my role in all of this is to just try to make this a robust project that remains under control nonetheless.
You're a
um,
normie.
what I am proud of though is that I'm the creative director now, but I came here as a solo design specialist, and I really feel like we are making something that is exciting for the community of solo players who also want to be able to play Root. Like, I'm very thrilled that we're working together to offer something that I'm proud to be offering, and you know, it's just it brings my soul joy, especially because we are really dependent on our community for testing. So Benjamin, do you want to talk a little bit more about that? I know this emerged from the Better Bot project.
Yeah, so I mean, it also ties back to your first question, right? So I created the set of bots for Root, and I just put him onto Board Game Geek, and people, there is, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 pages of people testing them, giving feedback, refining them over time. And they got picked up at that point by later games, turned into expansions. But with all the new bots for the various expansions, it always goes back to creating a bot for the community, putting it out, getting feedback, refining it, and then putting it to print. I think there is a difference between who plays it, because some of the like members of the community are amazing, right? With the original bots, they want like maximum difficulty, all trades. It's like an absolute hardcore way of playing, and they're like, yeah, this bot isn't really challenging at that level, and here's the details why, and here's the trade that could be stronger. here's the trait that I find is a bit too strong, but I can manage it, etc. And that's so far away from the average player, but I have such a depth of insight and feedback that's really valuable. With the latest boss, we started putting them out onto the Discord server. So if you join the Discord server, you find the Marauder bots there as well being discussed, and the various interaction rules of how the bots can interact with some of the new mechanics that are being introduced. They also provided some of the community house rules, how to adapt the new maps, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, we're doing this for solo players, but we also can't do it without each other. We'll just be alone together. And just kind of one more question, and since we brought up new maps, Benjamin, what are your hopes for this project in terms of making sure that other aspects of Root gameplay, so things that aren't just other factions, are available to solo players?
I mean, my hope is, I'm fairly certain at this point, but my hope is that we can have full compatibility of everything, meaning higher lands, higher links, advanced setup, all the maps, right? Every single piece that exists for a standard game of Root can be used in some way with the bots, either directly or with some additional rules to make them compatible. But I personally don't want any of the content to be missed out by solo players.
Alita, any further thoughts?
Yeah. Agreed. No, but it's gonna be fun going through. There's just been so much over the years, and it's gonna be nice to have all of it cohered and condensed and all together at last.
Yes, the bots united as they should be. Just as sort of a final bot question. What are y'all's favorite bot factions at the moment? Do you have a favorite child, each of you?
New ones or old ones or both?
Both.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'll go first. So I think there's a duality. I think the Mechanical Marquis 2.0 is like the poster boy. It's easy to run, it fulfills its role, it provides high reach, right? So it's kind of like always the standard bot. But I love playing against the lizards. They're
Yes.
just so annoying, so in your way all the time, and so challenging to play against. I think I prefer them as my opponent.
I think that of the old bots, I like the mole bot best. I think it's a mean bot,
Yeah.
and I think it runs beautifully. Um, I'm currently biased because we're about to show turns of it, but I've also really been enjoying the rat bot. We're making tweaks, but I've been having a good time watching it turn into a nastier version of itself, which is what it should be.
Such a
Ratman's
menace.
fun.
I think the knaves are gonna be great too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all gonna be great, but
They're gonna be a fun, escalated problem faction.
I was gonna say I'm looking most forward to the frogs. I think having the additional suit come in and like interacting with that, it's great in a competitive game, but it's gonna be hopefully even more amazing in a multiplayer game. Sorry, in a solo game.
Yeah. No, and it's so cool with how order cards work, adding in another suit where suddenly the frogs are able to act in every clearing that they're already in, but they can't expand that turn. And there's just some interesting tensions within that. That's really fun and lets players still use the frog deck in their game. Frogs are
fantastic.
scary.
Yeah. But it is the fate of all bots to be a little scary. So they're doing their
As
job.
they should be.
So since everybody here is a game designer, I just want to give everybody a chance to talk about what else are y'all working on.
I'll go for it. So this year at Essen, you can visit the Fantasia booth where I'll be demoing I don't think we announced the name yet, but a game that I'm the lead developer with a famous designer attached. Book your demo now, see me in person. I've been working it the last 8 months now. And then hopefully next year, as in 2027, my 4x deck builder should hit crowdfunding. So I'm very excited about that, which will also be with Fantasia.
That's
Fantastic.
awesome.
That's really good. And Alita, I know you're working on stuff that I see every week, but announce it again.
Yeah, and Cart's still kicking along. We just, as of filming this, it'll be last Friday. We just pushed a new update to our testing Discord, which you can find a link to join on Woodland Warriors. I think it's still active if you want to get a game in or just see how it looks.
I am working on an unnamed leader project, and also on an unannounced project with David. I've seen Rules for Night Witches, and my game Foxes and Lions with Paul Wright, which is decidedly not a solo game, is on G&T's P500. But Alita, you led right into something that I want to talk about, which is Woodland Warriors. So if you want to start talking to us about the bots, get a look at what we're working on. I'm hoping that we'll be releasing some stuff that's been worked on by our lovely graphic designer soon. If you want to, get links to test out Cart, please come join us in the Woodland Warriors Discord. We want to talk to you about what we're working on, and we are super excited. But Benjamin, Alita, thanks for popping on to chat a little bit about solo bots. We should do it again as the project progresses.
Definitely.
Thanks for having us.
All right, everybody, we'll get back to some live
And now
programming.
we'll cut to live.
Doing it live.
Hey, welcome back.
Yes, hopefully you had a good time with past us, and now we can talk to present us again. Neverland, I see your comment. Yes, the reason that the bots have been out of stock is that we're doing an update. And to show you part of that update, we've got Root set up here with just a cat played by a human. Unfortunately, that would be me. We advanced the game a couple turns, and then we're also going to show you the rats. So, Alita, you want to talk about how we're going to do this?
Yeah, so we're going to start out by playing one turn with me as a human playing the rats, and then we'll switch to the cat's turn, and I'm going to swap over to playing the bot. And then we'll do probably like 1 to 2 bot turns so you can see how it plays versus a human player.
Yeah.
And kind of get a feel for how we've moved things around a little bit so that the logic is easier to follow, but also we're producing around the same outcomes.
Yeah, so just
a
a little
difficulty.
yeah, difficulty. But yes, just a little peek under the hood. This bot is still in development. But we want you to get a look. So the cats have played 3 turns, the rats have played 2, so it is to you.
Oh, sick. Well, you didn't tell me that part. I should have looked at my cards before now. Okay, so to start out, we always raise, which means that I get a sweet little item to start out. Let's see. Up in my prowess, which doesn't change the number, but it's fine. Let's see. You left my boy alone.
I want to note that Alita takes gaming seriously, even if it's a mock-up bot.
Yeah. I get annoyed about how much I'm cheering for my bots versus Liz's bots when we're each running one. I'm so much more invested in my bot doing well than my player position doing well. Anyway, so I'm going to recruit warriors equal to my prowess in the warlord's clearing. And then I get 1 at each of my strongholds. And Warlord's alive, so I don't have to anoint. And then we are going to flip to... Let's do Stubborn, since my Warlord is not currently with a lot of friends right now. So we'll do Stubborn, so I ignore the first hit I take with my Warlord. We could craft using strongholds. I'm not well suited for it at the moment, so we won't. And then I will command the hundreds. So I currently have 1 command point, so we're just gonna build myself another stronghold. Then we'll advance the warlord twice. Let's see. I think I can... I'll go this way and battle the cat.
So mean.
Always. 1/1. Oh, I ignore my first hit. Yay. And then I'll leave one behind and head here for my second advance and battle again. Okay. So I can spend a card to place a mob. Oh, I forgot a thing in Raising. Don't worry about it. Look, playing on stream is slightly harder than playing in person.
No, it's so hard.
I think I will skip inciting this round. And then I will press all clearance I rule that have hundreds pieces and no enemy pieces, which right now is 5. That's going to get me 3 points.
Yeah, this is simply unacceptable.
Oh, 3. And then I'll draw 1 card and discard down to 5. But I actually won't because I'll be switching boards. Cat's turn.
Yes. All right. Let's just make this quick. Nobody wants to see a human play. So we'll just do a sawmill load up here. We are going to craft using workshops. I've got a workshop over there in Fox, so I'm going to craft a crossbow for a point. T-Rex arms, but I got there. Okay, let's see. I can take up to 3 actions. Let's just do an auto battle. Let's do a quick battle right here. Let's take this thing out for a point.
Oh no, my boy.
Jerk. Let's go ahead and build, because that's always a good thing to do. Let's build another recruiter. And let's put it, I'll put it here. I like to be in the corners. So it'll cost me a couple of wood. I'm going to get a couple points. I'm hopping over that rat for now. It never lasts, of course. And then, how do I want to handle this? I got one more action. Let's just recruit. That's always a good one. Can't go wrong. And that's 3 actions. We'll call it. I can draw 2 cards, so 1 plus the one that's showing here. I would discard down to 5, but I'm just going to discard a couple of random cards because this isn't that big a deal. I will note, ambush remains useless against bots, so don't need that.
True.
So that'll be my thought there. And that's me. So now we're going to swap out for the bot, and you'll notice there's some nice big changes for us to talk about.
Okay, so for people who haven't played bots before, kind of how bots work is you draw an order card, and that's going to be the suit of clearings that you're going to be acting in this round, or primarily acting it. The one unique thing about the Looting Legion, or the Lord of Hundreds bot, is that the Warlord's clearing always counts as ordered. So you'll always be acting where the Warlord is, as well as any suited clearing. The other thing is that the base Warlord is not going to have moods. Those are kind of an even harder mode that you can add on top of this. But for sake of simplicity, we don't have it in the base bot. So by starting out, I reveal an order card. We're going to be acting in the mouse suit. Much like the main one, we're going to raise. This is a pretty choiceless option in the main faction, because this is just like an upkeep step. So it's pretty much copied and fully intact. So we're going to get to... Oh, you took the one out that I wanted. Well, Liz killed the one at the ruin, so we're not getting much this round.
We can pretend it's still there for
Exactly.
demonstration's sake.
No. I don't deserve it. I should have protected it if I wanted it. And then we will recruit warriors equal to the horde in my Warlord's clearing. So currently we're at 2. The thing about the combined bot is it only is going to have 1 horde, and it'll kind of reference these numbers in multiple ways. But we don't need to have quite as much of a restriction as command versus prowess, since it's no longer an interesting player decision, it's just something to run up against. So we will drop them off to resupply my beautiful rat. And then we would score points if we were out of warriors. We still have stuff left, so no worries. Then we get to battle in each ordered clearing. So the other thing about the map, as we're playing with bots, is we have numbers. These are lowest number to highest number is our priority. We start at lowest. So we'll just resolve the battles in that order as well today. But actually, I don't think I have any enemies to battle to start out with, which is great. So yeah, we have no enemies. You didn't even come to me.
I need to.
So we're going to spread out. Any ordered clearings that have an excess of my pieces. So if we had a few more, actually, if we have enough at this stronghold, they're going to start kind of pushing out into other players' clearings and kind of start trying to cause problems from the back end of my beautiful empire. So they'll go try to take care of the cats, but that'll be resolved on my next turn. Then we're going to build a stronghold in a clearing that I rule. So we'll just pop it up with a warlord. Then I'm going to advance. That's going to be equal to the horde. So we're going to advance twice. I bring all my friends with me to whichever clearing I do not rule, and then we go for the highest numbered clearing. So we are going to go to... Oh, and we're going to go for most enemy pieces.
Most enemy pieces, yep.
So we're going to go after these cats. And we're going to battle, of course. Hey. Oh, wait. But we automatically loot as robots. So, can I have that beautiful crossbow?
Guess you can have my crossbow. Later bot, we have been adjusting advance because we didn't want to thin the rad ball out too much as it was moving around the map. So you'll see a different recruit style later in the turn.
Yeah. So, but you do get to hit back still. Such a shame. But I have another item. And then we're stuck here, so for my second advance, I'm going to battle you again. And just try to...
God, I hope you roll bad.
I rolled great. Okay. But also, since I'm here and this is the first space with a ruin that I entered this turn, I'm going to just drop a mob in. Hopefully I get to clean that up by the start of my next turn. So then we go to anoint. My warlord's alive, no worries. And then I get to recruit a warrior at each stronghold. I'll be good. I'll put them down so you guys can see them.
Yeah, so basically the adjustment we made was that if the warlord is still alive, the rats are rewarded for that by doing a stronghold recruit, which helps them bolster the strongholds instead of moving away from them too quickly, which is a problem in earlier versions of the bot we're having.
I even changed it since Liz last saw it, don't worry. And then we're going to place a mob in a mouse clearing adjacent to one of my mobs. So we're just going to drop it off right there because we're going to prioritize clearings with ruins. Then we're going to score a point for every clearing I rule, max of 4. And then, let's see, so yeah, we are currently at the max.
Gotta do something about this.
And then we'll discard the order card.
Yes. All right, so let's just do one more round. Let's just do a quick cat turn. I swear, if I'm really thinking about it, I'd play so much better. I said, lying through my teeth. Do I want to craft anything? Can I craft anything? I don't think I even can. Whatever. All right, so I can take up to 3 actions. Well, let's start with a good old recruit. I want to definitely fight you here because with that mob, I don't like that. I want to keep my recruiter right there. So we're gonna have a little cat rat fight here. A cat rat spat. How about that? So one battle, move 1 rat. Let's use my third action. Do it again.
You'll never take me alive.
This is so slow. This is horrible. But I do have a bird card, which I will then discard to fight again. Maybe I'll get 2 hits this time.
No, my boy.
Bite me. Get out.
Have you been removing your guys?
That was the first one I had to remove. Been rolling hot.
My warlord, you failed me.
And then, ooh, I'll just hang, I think, until that next turn. So I would draw 2 more cards. Doesn't even matter what's on them now that I'm playing a bot. And then, it doesn't matter that Alita sees them, that is. And then it matters what's on them. But yeah, let's just do 1 more rat turn and we'll call it a day.
Okay. Well, it's a bird card, so we're fighting everywhere. We're just really mad that everyone left us. Let's see. Okay, so we get to raise all the mobs. So we're gonna get another little guy.
Ooh, I don't like that item
Yeah,
situation.
your next turn's gonna be rough.
Good thing I don't have to play it.
True. But unfortunately, I do not have the warlord, so I don't get to recruit at him. Then we are going to battle in each ordered clearing. I have 1 clearing that I currently have an enemy in. Because you kicked me out of clearing 6. We'll just take each other out a little bit.
Yeah,
Dink dink.
it was something. I contributed somehow.
But we're gonna send some reinforcements up the way. And we're gonna start moving this set out. They'll go to highest numbered clearing. And then next time they get to move, they'll be able to start accessing enemies. Then we are going to build my stronghold. We're gonna pop it there. And then we're gonna anoint my warlord. It's fine. It'll just get replaced in the clearing with the most of my warriors.
Yes, William Flats, you can see him.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting you guys are here. And then we're going to recruit 1 warrior at each stronghold. So, not quite a pacifist turn, but in a reward for killing my warlord, Liz gets a turn off while I rebuild my forces.
Yeah, unfortunately, you rebuilt the heck out of your forces and now I get to be nervous.
Yeah, of course.
But that's how it should be. But yeah, basically, we are...
Oh, I forgot to score.
Oh, yeah, you better do that.
4 points.
So, as you can see, we are having a good time tuning these bots. So the rats initially spread out a little too... a little too thin, and so it was too easy to keep taking the warlord out and keep kind of mopping up the strongholds. Now we've gone a little bit the other way, and so we're testing it this way to see how we like it. And we're, of course, going to be testing with multiple player counts. It's a long process, and as we mentioned before, if you want to help us with that, Woodland Warriors is the spot.
Yeah.
Any further comments?
Yeah, we have this one in testing circulation right now, and we're probably going to be pushing a few more bots for people to look at soon. Maybe including the Homeland ones.
Yeah.
Because
So
they're
be
in
ready.
good shape.
They look good.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for it, but they look great. I also just want to once again thank Benjamin Schmauss, who of course is not live on the stream, but you saw him earlier, because he's doing great work, and it's wonderful to have him on board and be doing this together.
And Layerbot, you mentioned Clockwork Meeples. We're going to try. We're going to look into it.
Yeah, that's all I can promise.
No promises, but I do want them. So
We have dreams. And I guess that'll conclude the stream for today, for this month, but we'll see you at the next second Tuesday of the month at 2 o'clock. Oh, real quick, Lita, you got a favorite bot?
Oh no.
We'll stress Lita out one more
I got
time.
close to figuring out who my favorite bot was. I think moles. I like their grid. I like that you still get to play with the crowns. The crowns feel good as pieces.
Fantastic. But yes, everybody, check out Woodland Warriors. We're happy to talk bots with y'all. And thanks so much for watching the stream. We'll see you in a month.
See you guys soon.